Hi folks, welcome to Sci-Fi Scavenger. It's time for the supermassive book haul, and the reason for it being called that will become clear later on. This haul is from the last 2 weeks just about, and I have if you're similarly afflicted as I am, you have this sort of recurring dream of timing something to the absolute perfection where someone's just dropped a significant chunk of their sci-fi collection that they no longer want on a charity shop, and you get there just as they've been put on the shelves before anyone else has had a chance to look at them, and you can kind of grab them all and take them away. Well, that happened to me yesterday, for really I think the first time that's properly happened, and there's a whole bunch of books here which are a result of that, some of them in the supermassive category that we'll get to at the end. But okay, so Neil Asher is an author that I've read a couple of their, maybe 3 or 4 of their earlier books, and I quite like them, and then got bogged down in a recent one that I tried to read and kind of DNF'd it out of laziness more than anything else. But I think he's got a reputation as being like the Lee Child of the sci-fi world, and he's kind of churning book after book after book. But I think that's a bit unfair. Well, firstly, I like the Lee Child books. It's a guilty pleasure. And secondly, I think that it's not really a fair comparison. These are proper sci-fi. So the first bunch, I've got, I think, the entire Agent Cormac set. Gridlinked, I think, was Asher's first book, and Agent Cormac is the sort of policeman kind of character in that. Much more than that I don't remember, although I do remember there was a freaky character in there called Mr. Crane, who was a sort of 2 meter tall brass android, heavily armed, with no morals at all, basically an unstoppable killing machine, who was such a popular character that Asher brought him back for the 3rd book. So I remember enjoying that. This is the second Agent Cormac book, Line of Polity. I can't remember if I've read that or not, probably, but I don't remember much about it. And then the 3rd one, which is where Mr. Crane was resurrected, is Brass Man. And as I recall, he and Agent Cormac end up collaborating, or at least declaring an uneasy truce, the enemy of my enemy being my friend, and so on. But that's number 3. I couldn't believe it when I walked into this very nondescript charity shop, which normally has literally fuck all in the way of science fiction books. I might find one that sort of just about can be defined as science fiction buried in the regular. In fact, this shop has their book collection ordered by colour. So all the white books with the white spine are at the top, and then it gradually gets more and more colourful until at the end it's black. And they think, well, black is normally where the science fiction lives, just because we're a miserable bunch and we like darkness. And the entire bottom shelf of this thing was full of Neil Asher books, and there were others which we'll get to. So anyway, my eyes lit up. I was very excited, kind of childish actually. Anyway, but it was a bit of a precious situation because it was just about to shut. They had, it was 4:58 or something when I walked in. They shut at 5, so I almost had to literally do a supermarket sweep off the shelves, kind of grab them all, dump them on the till, and for them to start ringing them through before while I grabbed the rest of them. I actually had to go back today, partly to donate, to drop off a bunch of books which are now spares for reasons that will become obvious, and to just check the shelves properly, but there wasn't anything else for me to have there. So anyway, number 4 in the Agent Cormac series is Polity Agent. I don't think I've read that one. And then the 5th one in hardback, and there's several of these hardbacks. Cost me the princely sum of £2.50, the hardbacks, which is Line War, which again is number 5, I think. And then I believe this is it's an Agent Cormac novel, but I believe it's a prequel to Gridlinked, so it's like an extra one that's stuck in the series. But I don't, more than that I don't know. But again, a nice hardback, it's 1st edition, it's in good condition, no blemishes or anything like that. That one dates back to 2008. Cool cover. And then there's a few that are, I think, sort of standalone, but in the same sort of universe. So there's the Gabble, which is a short story collection, which features the Gabble Duck, which is a terrifying character in one of the other books, as I recall. That has a bunch of short stories which are set in either the Polity or the Spatter J sort of world, which look good. I'll tuck into the short stories. I think again, nice, good quality, good condition hardback. And then we've got Prador Moon, which I'm pretty sure I've read. Again, a beautiful kind of hardback. It's quite a slim one compared to some of the others. Nothing wrong with it. It's in good condition. This one dates back to 2006. I mean, this has just sat on somebody's shelves and been read once and never touched again. Fabulous. Their loss is my gain. And then I think this is a more recent one. Well, not that much. 2010. I think it's a standalone novel in the Polity universe. And again, fabulous, slightly terrifying cover. I can do that kind of thing in 5 seconds flat on Night Cafe now. It's cheating, really, isn't it? But that's clearly someone's actually painted that, and it's much better for it. But again, it's in really good. Some slight creasing to the cover at the top there, but otherwise in, basically, if you walked into Waterstones and bought that, you wouldn't be upset by it. You wouldn't complain about it afterwards. It's as new, really. That's a decent sort of chunky size book. There's more Asher. There's the 3 Spatter J set books, and I've vague recollection I've read one of these. Not this one, I don't think. The Skinner is a cheerful looking chap. Looks like he would ruin your day, doesn't he? Pretty chunky paperback. Again, I mean, it does look like it's aged a little bit on the text block, but it's actually, this is a reprint. The first edition would have been in 2002. This was printed in 2009, probably to match the rest of the set. And then I think this is the one that I may have read, The Voyage of the Sable Keech. Sable Keech is effectively a policeman in this. It's so determined a policeman, in fact, that he continues his searching for the baddies 700 years after he's died, somehow sustained, I forget how, sustained in death. His consciousness has been downloaded into a crystal, and his corpse is kept animated via some means, but he's deceased by several hundred years. But he continues. Yes, Sable Keech was a walking dead man, the only one successfully to have been resurrected by Nano Changer. I don't know. So that's a Spatter J novel, and I think this is the most recent Spatter J. There are only 3, I think. Let me see. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Yeah, this is a first edition from 2009. Again, nice hardback. The dust jacket's in perfect condition. Very colourful pictures. No complaints. As new. Fabulous. Okay. And there's just one more Neil Asher. So my entire collection of Neil Asher books until just now was, where the hell are they? It was these 2. So I've gone from, which are recent ones, I think this one was the one that I couldn't get on with. So these are from the last 3 or 4 years, and now I've got 3, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. I now have 15 in total, including those 2. So I guess you'd call me a paid up pre-fan, is it? I don't know. I'm not a fan yet, I don't think, but I have the potential to be if they're any good, and I get around to reading them at some point. So the last one that I got of his is Cowl, which I think is a completely standalone novel, not related to any of the sort of universes that he's built previously. It's a sort of time travel gig, I believe. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Heliophane dominion rules the triumphant in the solar system, but some of its enemies have escaped into the past, etc., etc. Towards the very dawning of life, I wonder if there are dinosaurs. Could be. Anyway, that's the end of the Asher. I feel like that's burnished my 21st century sci-fi creds quite significantly. Right, before we get to the supermassive portion, a couple of stories associated with these. So I was a week or two ago thinking about how I could expand my footprint, my book acquisition footprint, from the sort of area, the usual haunts, the charity shops and second-hand bookshops I know of in London and near me. And I had the brainwave of putting a wanted ad out on our local Freegal or Free Cycle site. It's like a people list shit that they want to get rid of, that they're just happy to give away, and you interact and agree a pickup time. And we've got rid of loads of old stuff of ours via that means. It's very handy. You just sort of leave it on the front step and someone comes and gets it. So I thought, well, maybe there are people that have science fiction on their shelves that they would be happy to get rid of. So I put an ad out, and pretty much I think that later that afternoon I got an email from a guy. He said, I think I've got 2 on my shelves. He was an old boy, it turned out, when I went to get the book. And indeed he did. So he had Hal Clement, Natives of Space. And this one is a short story anthology with nobody that I recognise in it. Nope, not a single one. So that will be a mystery. I mean, it's very thin, so they can't be very long short stories. They're short stories, in fact. But yeah, I went to his address, which is a couple of miles from where I live. Knocked on the door. He came to the door with these in his hands, and then asked me, "Have you read any Hal Clement?" And then mentioned one of his other books, which is really good. I haven't read any Hal Clement, although I do have another book of his, which potentially is Mission of Gravity, actually. I don't know. But anyway, free book. He just gave them to me. So yesterday my camera on my phone was being an absolute dick and stopping randomly during the recording of the video. So I've had to get, and it missed an important section, or I did, because I didn't realise it had stopped. So I've had to come back the next day to insert a segment. So I've given it away now, but even though I'm wearing the same t-shirt, the book scene behind me has changed because I've put all of yesterday's book haul books on the shelf, kind of crammed them in, and the light level's probably a bit different. So full disclosure, this is recorded the next day. So the second way, so I talked about Freegal as a way of getting books from randomers. The second way was just via some chatting on a Discord channel that I'm a member of, which is associated actually with another BookTube channel with Media Death Cult. And I got chatting to Chris, and he had some books that were spares. In fact, he had a whole ton of books that were spares, duplicates and so on. And I had we decided it would be fun to swap some books, so I picked the 2 of his that I liked, and you'll see those in a second. One was Dune Messiah and one was City of Flight by James Blish. And then I gave him some Dick, which is outrageous because we hardly know each other. In fact, I gave him 2 Dicks. I laid my full Dick collection bare for him. He chose 2 that he needed for his collection. I posted those to him. He posted the 2 Dune Messiah and Cities in Flight to me, and they crossed over in the post. And then we both received, well, they weren't free because they had to pay for postage, and I did buy the books originally, but it was nice. So he got 2 books that he wanted, I got 2 books that I wanted. So more of that sort of thing, I think. It certainly beats buying them on eBay or whatever. So anyway, back to the original recording where I launched into a bit about Dune Messiah. That was the one that I didn't have in my Dune collection, with my mismatched Dune collection. I've got 2 different format Dune original books, both movie tie-ins. Then I've got the Pennington of this. Then I've got the Pennington of Children of Dune and God Emperor Dune. And then I've got the 80s kind of blue covers of 3 or 4 of them. So I don't have a full set of any of them. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to end up wanting a full set of this in as far as they go. I think they only go up to the 4th. And I'm going to want a full set of the blue 80s ones as well. including the first books, which I already have 2 copies of in different formats. So it's getting a bit silly, but the kind of completist in me can't help myself. So that's in pretty good condition, really, for a book that's, I don't know how old this one is, must be from the 70s. Actually, it's a reprint from 1980, so it's not ancient, but it's in pretty good condition. I'm surprised by how thin it is. Actually, I don't remember Dune Messiah being a thin book, but obviously it is. And then the other one that I decided I'd quite like, which I could have bought today for $1.99 in Oxfam when I was there today, but obviously I didn't need to. Is the old black livery sci-fi masterworks of Cities in Flight by James Blish, which I've heard good things about. It's number 3 in that series, so it was obviously one of the first that they put in there. These are the series that now have the yellow covers, which I now have a bunch of up here, and then they've changed the format again and probably expanded the list. It's more like orange than yellow now, but slightly more modern looking covers. But anyway, I do prefer the black. I would even more prefer to have a regular edition of this, but this will very nicely do for now. So again, that cost me 2 books and some postage, but I've completed my June set, although with mismatched books, and I've got a Blish that I really wanted to have. Can't go wrong. So that's a couple of nice ways to get some books that didn't involve going to a charity shop. And then in the last, so today, in fact, so this one came from the same supermarket sweep as the Neil Asher books, as in Ian Banks. It's not Ian M. Banks, so technically it's not science fiction. Although I think in the US it's marketed as Ian M. Banks, and the storyline is parallel universes and what have you. So it kind of fits in his sci-fi oeuvre, in my humble opinion. I have read it, I'm nearly certain, but as a sort of knocked off ebook a few years back. So I'm happy to have my own copy, and I need to read it again at some point. Ideally, I'd have it in hardback, but that will do for now. Very nice. I've got a totally unnecessary Terry Pratchett. I thought, perfect, I don't have that one, as I looked it up on the spreadsheet of books I bought in the last month or 2, which is now close to 200, and it's not in there. I didn't recognise it. And I've just got home, looked on the shelves, and it's one of the original 4 that I owned. It's the 3rd one. I just didn't recognise it because mine's an old tatty version. So I should probably get rid of that, as I don't need it, but never mind. And then Snuff, which is a Sam Vimes, a kind of night city watch book. Although he's a fish out of water, I think he's off on his holiday somewhere in the country and things go wrong and he ends up getting involved. That's quite a thick book. Some of the later Discworld ones were pretty thick. I'm going to have a bit of a Discworld session at some point. I want to read if I've got them all, I want to read all the Death books, and I want to read all the City Watch books. Not so fussed about the others, but those are quite good, I think. Right, there's a few more in this little pile before we go super massive. So a very well-known book. It's a recent printing from 15 years ago or so. Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. I think I've read that, but a long time ago. I don't know. Probably not. It's a kind of coming of age horror story more than science fiction, really. But please have that. I quite like that cover. And then we've got The Return of the Incredible Exploding Man, which is by Dave Hutchison, who's written a few books that I have. You probably can't see it on the top shelf up there. Sort of what's it called? Europe at Dawn, the Europe books, of which there are now 5. I haven't read the 5th one yet, although I do have it. But this apparently is a sort of follow-on from a short story that he wrote, which was called The Incredible Exploding Man. And much more about it than I don't know, but it involves a kind of super collider akin to kind of CERN, but in the US, and something going wrong, and something happening to the protagonist. Quite what, I don't know, but I really like his writing. I really like the sort of vision of Europe that he conjured in those Europe books, sort of balkanized near future where national borders have eroded and the little pockets of civilization, and one of which is which is only a few hundred yards wide. It goes along a transcontinental railway line, and that has its own rules and passports required and what have you. And it's like 400 yards wide. But anyway, it's a good story. So I think his writing's good. So I'm kind of looking forward to reading that when I have a chance. Okay, next up we have N.K. Jemisin, she of the it's called Broken Earth trilogy, which I really enjoyed. This is her first book. It's the first of a trilogy, the Inheritance trilogy, which I picked up today for a couple of quid. I don't know if it's excuse me, if it's as good as the Broken Earth trilogy, but you know, I'm happy to give it a go, and I did like her writing. I've got a book of her short stories as well that I haven't read yet that I must get around to at some point. And then an author that I hadn't really heard much about until quite recently, and I've subsequently, it's funny how you never know someone existed and then you can't stop seeing them everywhere. I've seen another of his books today that was a bit tatty. I decided not to get it, and then I've picked up a couple recently as well. But this is Just Before. This one is the Well of Lost Plots, which is a Thursday Next book, which I don't know much about, except that she is a character who's from a sort of parallel version of Britain, where literary characters are sort of real and know that they're in books, and things in the outside world can affect how stories are written and so on and so forth. So this is the third in that series, and apparently they're very good. I hear good things and I'd quite like to read that. So maybe I think you could probably read it standalone, but I'll probably wait until I get the first two. And then last from today, before we get on to the huge ones, is The Loop by, who is it, Ben Oliver. Don't know anything about it other than there's a prison involved and an escape. So it's kind of a lockbox mystery, I think, but with some severe peril. Don't know anything about it. Right, onto the heavy wob. So I was looking at my shelves the other day, as you do, kind of trying to spot gaps and things that I need to get at some point, things to look out for. And I was looking at the Gap Cycle by Stephen Donaldson, which appropriately enough had some gaps in it. I was missing books 3 and 5, I think. I had a slightly tatty paperback the first book, The Gap into Conflict, and then the other two were in pretty good condition, minor creasing and so on. And I was looking at it and I got impatient. I thought, well, you know, it could be forever until I get the missing 2, and I want to read it at some point. So I started looking on Tinterweb to see if I could find them, and I was pleasantly surprised to find that not only could I find them, but I could find them in hardback and for not very much money. So instead of buying 2 paperbacks to plug the gaps in the series that I already have, I sort of doubled down and bought 5 hardbacks. So I got the first one, which actually is not in good condition. It was advertised as very good condition. In fact, there's a theme here. The 2 of the 5 that I've got here are in pretty shitty condition, despite being sold as very good. To be fair to the supplier, it was not World of Books, it was Baham Books or something like that. When I complained, they got back to me pretty much straight away and refunded me the money and said, don't bother sending the books back. So I'm not. I mean, it's pretty shitty. The cover is very faded. I mean, it's barely good. You might say it was sort of fair, you know, an okay reading version. But I mean, here's the first edition, so it's from back in 1990, I think. Yeah, from 1990, and it's okay. It's I've subsequently, since I got refunded, I've bought another one, which I'm hoping is in better condition. So I also have the others, the big chunky one, in pretty good condition. I'm pretty sure that's the second one. No, it's not. Muppet. This is the fourth one. I thought I had these in order. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I have all 5, so I'm going to get to all of them. So nice condition. It's got a bit of you know, the cover's a bit bent at the top, but the pages are in good nick. There's no yellowing. The sound about the binding's good. Cost me about £4, I think. Again, another first edition. And that's the Gap Intervision. Again, nice, pretty clean copy. There is a bit of kind of yellowing or foxing on the tops of the text block, but nothing too fatal. And the pages themselves, once you get inside the book, are, you know, pretty clean. So that's that one. I think that's book 3, Dark and Hungry God Rises. Again, a bit of the dust jacket's a bit dinged at the tops and bottoms, but generally speaking, it's a bit sun faded on the text block, but the pages are fine. You can see where the, I don't know if you can see that, but where the sun has not been hitting this bit, but has been hitting this bit, so it's a bit faded up here. But anyway, you know, it's in good condition. And then the most sort of pile of shit one that I got, despite being advertised as very good, is the last one, The Day All Gods Die. And I think this book died on the same day. It's got the binding's gone, pages are falling out. It's the cover's in bad condition, the jacket's in bad condition, the pages are all yellowed. This would be acceptable or poor condition, I think. Certainly not very good. So I got a refund for that, and I have replaced it again for a few pounds, £3 or £4, nothing very much. So those are all from eBay. So anyway, back to the supermassive contingent. So in that same charity shop, Bonanza, when I timed it to perfection, just as somebody dropped their entire sci-fi collection on their shelves, I couldn't believe it. There were so only a week or two ago, I got these guys in a charity shop, I forget which, an Oxfam bookshop probably, sort of big trade of Dreaming Void, which is the first of the Void trilogy, and you know, just a regular B format paperback of the Evolutionary Void, which I think is the third one. So I was missing the second one. But those have been trumped, because on the shelves, in all their glory, were the hardbacks of the Void trilogy in like perfect condition. £2.50 they cost me, compared to 18 is the cover price. They're from the first editions, from this one from 2007. I mean, they look like they might have been read once. I think they're probably nearer fine than very good. They're just tip-top condition, fat squirrel killer. I was very happy, and with that was the second one, also in tip-top condition. It's a sort of reload for the squirrel killer. I have read this, but on sort of dodgy ebooks, so I'm very happy to have a legit hardback first edition. By the way, I was just checking in case it was signed or anything extra exciting. It's not. But yeah, first edition from 2008, £2.50, compared to the £18.99, so that gone up in price by £1 since the first one came out. And then to complete the set was the third one, the Evolutionary Void, which again is in just super condition. There's nothing wrong with it. The covers, the dust jacket's got some very minor sort of dings on the tops and the bottoms, but again, cost me £2.50. Cover price is £19 or £18.99. It's in perfect condition. It might have been read once. But anyway, it's beautiful. I'm a very happy Peter F. Hamilton fan. You know, it could only have been improved if the previous books, the Commonwealth Saga, were there, and the Confederacy book, the Newtonian Dysfunction, and so on. That I would have literally wet myself with excitement, I think. But I was very happy to have these. But it gets better, because slightly oddly on its own was again another pristine condition copy of Judas Unchained. It doesn't look like it's even been read. I don't know what happened to the first one. What's the first one called? Pandora's Star. I had these two in paperback. So it's a bit of a mystery why the first one wasn't with it, but beggars can't be choosers. Again, £2.50 for a near perfect, some slight scuffing to the bottom of the dust jacket, just from shelf wear really, but it's in perfect condition, as new, Peter Hamilton book. So I'm going to have to look out for the first one now. I think I got impatient already today. I decided I couldn't wait, so I've ordered it on eBay for £6. So it's coming in a few days' time. That'll be in the next haul. So I've completed that set. It served me right if it turns up in a charity shop for £2 now. But you know, £6 is not a big risk. Well, the only risk is I can't guarantee the condition. Based on my previous experience with the Donaldson books, it might be in shit state, but it's allegedly very good. Or is it good? I don't know. Anyway, it's a bit of a gamble, but for £6, it's not like I'm betting the farm on it. So anyway, that's the end of the supermassive book haul. And if you're feeling slight change in the gravitational pull where you live, it's probably the just the sheer mass of these books. I'm finding they're exerting an effect on me here. I do have a big sack of books that I got today, but I'm going to do those along with anything else I get in the next couple of weeks, near the end of the month. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I have. It's always fun sharing books that I've got, particularly in such a monster single visit to a charity shop, which normally has, like I said, literally fuck all in the way of science fiction. I go in there not really expecting to find anything, and hit the mother load today. If you haven't already subscribed, then why not hit that subscribe button. It's either in that corner or that one. I forget which side it's on. And then hit the like. I really appreciate it. And also let me know in the comments if you have read any of these that I haven't. If you're a Neil Asher sort of fan, or if you've had a similar kind of bonanza haul experience, then let me know in the comments. I'm really happy to have a chat about it. But otherwise, I'll see you next time. I think the next thing I do will probably be a review of A Time of Changes by Robert Silverberg. So stick around if you're interested in that. But otherwise, bye. I'll see you later on. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.